Well, good evening there, and welcome to issue number 64. And this issue is all about the Cancerian ox. And as you can see from the caption prior to this video, those are all the dates you have to be to fall into this Western and Eastern star sign combination. If there are any dates prior to that, i.e. they have to be in 12-year gaps, just message me and I'll let you know any dates that would be 12 years prior to the first date I put up for maybe a grandparent or a mother or an uncle or whatever, and I shall let you know gladly what the those dates are. Just feel free to drop me a line, message, put it up on the board, whatever, and I'll get back as quick as I possibly can. Okay, so we've got the Cancerian and we've got the ox. What happens when these two meld together? Well, we've got the Cancerian. Let's start right at the beginning as a child. The Cancerian child can be a little bit of a hard one to read. Can be quite clingy, very emotional, very, very sensitive. That can be a major problem. And then they bumped in to the ox, the fusion with the ox, and we've got the ox who's a highly disciplined child, a reserved child, but has such a quiet determination to succeed. Slowly, but succeed it must. So it's a real unusual position for this combination. And one thing that will stand out is you'll go through the early formative years, the nursery years, the junior school years, even leading up to that secondary time, is that you have a child that looks like they've got the whole world on their shoulders, because the oxen, I would imagine, and I've seen cases of this, would be strong enough to take the lead. But where does that emotion go? Where does that need for letting off steam, which Cancerians need to do? If they bottle that emotion up, big troubles can come along. They need to be emotive in the 4 spells of the month, because as we know, they're governed by the moon. No other sign is affected by the moon like the Cancerian. It's just the way it is. They might have mood swings, they might be up high as a kite 1 minute, down the next, and you'll find it going a certain pattern as the moon's going round, going from where it's not visible to where it's full. Then they will be at their heightened. They're at the heightened emotionally when it's full, and they're calmer when it's not. So the closer you get to that, boom. But the oxen doesn't like shows of emotion, especially not in public, not in a classroom, or doesn't like to show any weakness whatsoever. So this emotion has to go somewhere, and this is something that will characterise this character all the way through. The Cancerian needs to breathe, as we know, it needs its space. So if we're going through the secondary years, getting to high school years and university years, because the ox will want to stay on, the ox will need to study, it has to. But the Cancer will grow into this person. The Cancerian will find a bit more of a balance. So you really could, and this is completely out of character with the oxen, have somebody who has to be emotional just to get through. They have to be it. They have to show some signs of weakness, but it's not weakness. The oxen shows of that, tenderness, or they've been hurt, is not a good thing. But the strength can come from when the weakness has been shown, if they've been made fun of, or had it ripped out of them a bit. The oxen will then realise it takes courage to put themselves out on the line, to be emotional, if they fall in love, these guys want to fall in love forever. That's the oxen way. They love stability, they love you know, that's their way of succeeding. They've got that side of their life out the way. They want the relationship. They don't want to worry anymore. They want to then just succeed and progress forward. Now the Cancerian, as we know, has bouts of promiscuity because it goes with their mood. If they feel as though they're not being understood, or they're not being allowed to breathe emotionally, if they feel as though, you know, they've met a partner that stifles them a little, then they will and they do look elsewhere. This doesn't sit very well with the ox, but then the ox is going to have to realise, for them to reach maturity and to reach an emotional goal, they're going to have to allow this to happen. So I would really give this sign time to settle down in themselves mentally. I would let them do their achieving. Yes, be promiscuous. Don't go into anything full on, as in a relationship early doors, because you'll either hurt yourself immensely or the other people because you're not ready. The Cancerian's got to grow. It's got to grow to the stage of later 20s, early 30s even. That's when it's worth embarking on a relationship. The Oxen would have succeeded, as we know. They can be in universities quite a bit longer than other signs because they seek perfection. They're not rash. They need to make sure they're going to do it right. If it takes them an extra year, an extra 2 years, it's not for the Oxen just to say, well, that's enough, that'll get me through. They need to know they're at the top of their game, and they need to do it their time, their way. The Cancer will have to allow the Ox to do this. See, they've got to compromise, and it's going to be a tricky spell in the 20s and later teens for this character to just settle down. But one thing you've got to know is you will settle down. It's not always going to be like that. You're not always going to think, you know, oh, I don't want to show the emotion, or I can show the emotion. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have those worries because you will settle down. The Cancerian would have grown, the emotions would have grown, and the Oxen would have been content that it has achieved. It's got to where it wants to go, and they can blossom and they can fuse together to really blossom. But it's in the later years, I say later years, but the later mature years, when they find their feet, later 20s, early 30s. As we say, we know the Oxen is a stickler for time and for routine. The Cancerian, with those mood swings, will have to adjust a little in themselves, but then the Oxen are giving a touch as well and say, well, hi ho, we can have a bit of fun today because, you know, this are quieting this side of my mind down, or this side of my energy down, and I don't think there's any problems. So sometimes Oxens can have problems in a lot later years with arthritic conditions, knee joint problem. It's basically activities, because they're not quick movers, they're not fast and fleet of foot, they don't rush about here and everywhere, but the Cancerian in them will help them keep stimulated. They'll enjoy walking, they will enjoy activities all the way through, so that's going to be really helpful for this Oxen. They're going to have that side of them where they're going to be involved in exercises, so that's not the problem. The problem we're going to have is psychological. As I say, do not bottle up that emotion, because you will pay for it down the line. Down the years down the line, you will pay for it. Nobody escapes scot-free from having that amount of emotion flying about their body and not being given an outlet. The Oxen, if it had its way, wouldn't allow this and said, no, I'm strong, I need to be looked up to. People revere me because of my dedication and because of my routine and because of my discipline. But you're going to have to release that, and you'll know in yourself that you need to do that, and sooner rather than later, and then you'll find, hey, it isn't so bad, you know, it's not so bad, it makes me healthier, it makes me more nurtured, and it's a lot easier for your partner to be. And your partner to be, we really have to look at roosters here, because roosters have everything that you're looking for. They have that little bit of eccentricity that will brighten up the place sometimes when you're feeling a bit introvert. You also have them for that great companion to talk to. You're not a massive talker, Cancerian ox, but when you do talk, it tends to be serious and of importance to you, and you will get great conversation. You also get great things, not the spoken word, but just gestures that make you feel as though you don't have to worry about the home, or if tomorrow's going to be different than today. You will have solidity, and that's what you need. So the rooster is a fantastic match. And what we have to find or look for in the rooster, well, we have to look at the Virgo rooster, we have to look at the Scorpio rooster, the Piscean rooster, and the Taurus rooster. Also, centrally, we have to look for snakes, because the snake will give you that warmth to melt away a lot of anxiety, that emotion. It will help you release that emotion in privacy, which is fantastic. That really suits the oxen side of your nature. So you can have those lovely, warm and very passionate evenings. There's the emotional release. And the snake, again, is a great psychological friend. Somebody you will be able to talk to, and somebody with those lovely touches around the house, which you both appreciate beauty and comfort. The ones we have to avoid, well, it's always goats for the oxen. The vagueness and the sometimes non-routine, and the bohemian goat, although highly skillful, is not the match for the oxen. They just clash from too many levels, and the way they do things, and it would unsettle both. The ox would feel very jittery, thinking tomorrow's everything's going to go wrong, and the goat will likewise feel very constricted and restrained. And as I've said, any health points, well, it's just mentally allow them emotions out. You're going to be very fit and strong bodily wise. We haven't got to worry about the arthritic conditions or anything of that ilk, but we do have to think about this and let those emotions out. And I think there's a brilliant future ahead for you. But stick in there. This is a combination that needs to stick in there. Okay, thank you very much for joining me, and please tune in for the next issue.